Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dig into a really powerful idea that your right to learn doesn't just stop when you leave school. Nope, it's a right that belongs to you for your entire life.
So, let's just kick things off with a question for you to think about. For a lot of us, education, the formal kind, it ends with school or maybe college. But what actually happens when we stop actively learning? What kind of skills, what opportunities, what personal growth do we end up missing out on? And that question leads us right into a huge challenge, because while many people choose to stop their formal education, for millions of adults with disabilities, the chance to learn is often cut short. And it's not by choice, it's by circumstance. This creates a really significant gap in our society. And look, this isn't just some feel-good idea, it's a fundamental human right. International agreements, like Article 24 of the UN Convention right here, they spell it out. Education at all levels is absolutely essential for developing our full potential, our sense of dignity, and our ability to be a part of a free society. But here's the thing, even with this powerful principle on the books, countless adults who didn't get the benefit of inclusive education when they were younger are now shut out from new learning opportunities. We're talking about all kinds of barriers, from buildings they can't get into to programs that just aren't designed with their needs in mind. So the big question is, how do we bridge this gap? How do we make this right a reality for everyone? Well, the solution requires a total shift in how we think about education, who it's for, and where it happens. It's about looking way beyond the four walls of a traditional classroom. Okay, so let's dive into this idea. We need to really embrace the concept of lifelong learning. And this isn't just about, taking a course to get a better job. It's the idea that learning is this continuous process that happens all through our lives with the goal of improving not just our job skills, but our knowledge and our abilities as human beings. And what's so cool is how this breaks down all the different ways we learn. See, lifelong learning isn't just one thing. It happens in those highly structured formal settings we all know, like schools. But it also happens in non-formal settings, like a community workshop or job training. And maybe most importantly, it happens informally, every single day, through talking with family, friends, and just engaging with the world. This view makes education possible absolutely everywhere. Okay, so to build a lifelong learning system that actually works for everyone, we can use a framework built on 4 essential pillars. And this is a total game changer because it takes learning from just, memorizing facts into a tool for becoming a more complete person. Now, this is where it gets really revolutionary. Think about it. Traditional education often hammers away at that first pillar, learning to know. But this framework says that's just a tiny piece of the puzzle. Real learning is also about learning to do, using what you know in creative ways. It's about learning to live together, building empathy and cooperation, and finally, learning to be, developing into a whole person who can act with autonomy and good judgment. This is so crucial for everyone. All right, so we've got this great framework, right? But how does it actually play out in the real world? Well, this is where the power of community comes in, through very targeted, on-the-ground programs. In a lot of places, teams focused on what's called community-based rehabilitation, or CBR, are the real engines making this happen. They don't just sit back and wait. They act as proactive opportunity navigators, seeking out chances for people with disabilities right in their own communities. And their job is super practical, really hands-on. I mean, they do everything from helping young people make that tricky jump from school to work to sniffing out local literacy classes. They're the ones connecting people to job training, figuring out how to adapt learning for folks with complex needs, and working side by side with local teachers to make the whole community more inclusive. So, what does this all look like on the ground? All this theory and structure is great, but the real magic is the impact it has on actual people's lives. Let's look at a story of how this model created some truly profound change. Let me tell you a story. It takes us to a village called Najdai. A CBR supervisor working there realized that adults with disabilities were just completely cut off. There were no education programs, no way for them to keep learning. They were basically isolated. So what's amazing is the team didn't just point out the problem and walk away. They created a solution from scratch. They worked with the government to get a literacy class started right there in the village. They made sure the teachers got training on how to be inclusive. And just like that, people who were isolated were now together in a classroom, building new connections. And the outcome? Well, it's summed up perfectly here. It was transformative. This wasn't just about learning to read and write, it was about people regaining their dignity, building self-confidence, and finally getting to claim a fundamental right that had been denied to them for way too long. So, here's the really crucial takeaway from all this. The story of Najdahi shows us that when you provide access to learning, you don't just help one person. You unlock human potential that strengthens the entire community, creating connection, understanding, and growth for everyone.
And that really brings everything back to you. Lifelong learning isn't just some policy or a program run by somebody else. It's a mindset. It's something we can all champion in our workplaces, our neighborhoods, our friend groups. So the question I'll leave you with is this: how can your community do a better job of unlocking the potential of every single person in it?